SummerSlam was the 13th annual SummerSlam professional wrestling pay-per-view event produced by the World Wrestling Federation. The event was presented by Chef Boyardee and took place on August 27, 2000, at the Raleigh Entertainment and Sports Arena in Raleigh, North Carolina. The main event was a triple threat match for the WWF Championship involving champion The Rock, Triple H, and Kurt Angle. The Rock won the match and retained the title after pinning Triple H following a people's elbow. One of the predominant matches on the undercard was Kane vs. The Undertaker, which ended in a no contest after Undertaker unmasked Kane. Another featured match on the undercard was the first tables, ladders, and chairs match for the Tag Team Championship involving champions Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boyz, and the Dudley Boyz. Edge and Christian won the match by retrieving the belts suspended above the ring. Background: the event featured 10 professional wrestling matches with outcomes predetermined by WWF script writers. The matches featured wrestlers portraying their characters in planned storylines that took place before, during and after the event. On the August 3 episode of SmackDown, Triple H and his wife, Stephanie McMahon, along with Kurt Angle, were booked in a 6-man tag team match by Commissioner Mick Foley, against the Dudley Boyz and Lita, which Triple H, McMahon, and Angle won. After the match, as Triple H left the ring, Angle and McMahon hugged in a victory celebration, frustrating Triple H and marking the beginning of a Triple H-Angle feud. On the August 7 edition of Raw is War, Angle and Triple H were booked in a triple threat match, along with Chris Jericho, to determine the number 1 contender for a WWF Championship match against the defending champion, The Rock. Both Angle and Triple H simultaneously pinned Jericho, which made both Angle and Triple H co-number 1 contenders. In frustration, Rock delivered a rock bottom on Triple H, Angle, and McMahon, who was at ringside during the match. Later that week on SmackDown, the match was made official for SummerSlam by Commissioner Foley. He also booked a tag team match, where Angle and Triple H would team up against Rock and The Undertaker. During the match, Angle accidentally attacked Triple H, causing Triple H to walk out on the match and a loss for Angle. The following week on Raw is War, Angle, Triple H, and Shane McMahon were booked in a 6-man tag team match against the Dudley Boyz and Rock, with the stipulation that if Angle or Triple H walked away from the match, they would lose their number 1 contender status. During the match, Edge and Christian interfered by attacking the Dudley Boyz, which resulted in Angle, Triple H, and McMahon winning the match when Triple H pinned Rock. As a result of neither Triple H nor Angle walking out on the match, they both were able to keep their number 1 contender status. On the August 14 edition of Raw is War, Kane interfered in a match between The Undertaker and Chris Benoit and performed a choker slam on The Undertaker. Following the interference, Kane rode out of the arena with The Undertaker's motorcycle, which was at ringside, signaling the beginning of a feud between The Undertaker and Kane, which was the second main feud heading into SummerSlam. On the August 20 edition of Sunday Night Heat, it was made official that The Undertaker would face Kane at SummerSlam. On the August 21 edition of Raw is War, the feud intensified during a segment in which Kane attacked The Undertaker with a steel chair, causing The Undertaker to bleed. On the August 10 episode of SmackDown, the Hardy Boyz attacked the WWF Tag Team Champions, Edge and Christian, after their championship match against the Dudley Boyz. As the Hardy Boyz attacked Christian with a ladder, the Dudley Boyz powerbombed Edge through a table. This began a 3-way feud, the third main rivalry heading into SummerSlam. The feud intensified on the August 14 edition of Raw is War, when Edge and Christian attacked Matt Hardy with steel chairs after the Hardy Boyz match against Right to Censor. Later that night, Commissioner Mick Foley announced a tables, ladders, and chairs match between the 3 teams in a WrestleMania 2000 rematch for the WWF Tag Team Championship. On that week's edition of SmackDown, Jeff teamed up with Devon to face Edge and Christian. During the match, Jeff accidentally delivered a Swanton bomb to Devon, which resulted in Edge pinning Devon for the win. After the match, Matt and Bubba came down to the ring, and the Hardys and the Dudleys brawled until they were pulled apart by WWF officials. Due to the events that occurred that past week, the Hardy Boyz were booked in a match against the Dudley Boyz the following week on Raw is War, which the Hardys won. On the final episode of SmackDown, prior to SummerSlam, the Dudley Boyz interfered in a six-man tag team match between the team of the Hardy Boyz and Chris Jericho and the team of Edge, Christian, and Chris Benoit, which resulted in another brawl between the three teams. The interference allowed Jericho to pin Edge for the win. The first match that aired was a six-man tag team match between the team of Right to Censor and Too Cool. Too Cool gained the early advantage, but the Goodfather retaliated by hitting a big boot on Sekshay. Right to Censor continued with the advantage until midway into the match, when Richards attempted an aerial technique. Sekshay, however, crotched Richards on the top turnbuckle and superplexed him. Hottie was then tagged into the match, where he attempted to deliver a worm to no avail, as Richards delivered a superkick on Hottie before pinning him to win the match. The next match was the encounter of Road Dogg and X-Pac. Both men fought back and forth in the beginning of the match, but Dogg gained the advantage after countering an X-Factor into a powerbomb. Although Dogg had the advantage, X-Pac retaliated by successfully hitting a low blow and another X-Factor into a pinfall and winning the match. After the match, Road Dogg hit X-Pac with a pump handle slam and performed some crotch chops. The third match was an Intercontinental Championship Intergender tag team match between the team of Trish Stratus and Val Venis against the team of Chyna and the defending champion, Eddie Guerrero. In this match, the wrestler who gained the first pinfall would become the Intercontinental Champion. Guerrero and Chyna gained the early advantage in the match, but as Guerrero attempted a Hurricane Runner, Venis countered it into a powerbomb. As the men tagged in the women, Chyna delivered a military press slam on Stratus into a pinfall, winning the match for the team of herself and Guerrero. Due to pre-match stipulations, Chyna became the new Intercontinental Champion. The next match was the encounter of Jerry Lawler and Tazz. The match began as Tazz gained the advantage, but Lawler retaliated by delivering a Pilly driver on Tazz. As Tazz recuperated, he applied the Tazz mission on Lawler. In desperation, Jim Ross, the commentating partner of Lawler, hit Tazz with a glass jar, breaking it over his head and allowing Lawler to pin Tazz for the win. The fifth match was a Hardcore Championship match between Steve Blackman and the defending champion, Shane McMahon. Blackman had the advantage over McMahon midway into the match, until Test and Albert interfered on McMahon's behalf by double-teaming Blackman. Nevertheless, Blackman retaliated as he hit both men with a kendo stick, which allowed McMahon to attempt an escape from the ring. Blackman then chased McMahon until both men were on a high steel structure, which was a part of the stage set. Blackman then hit McMahon with a kendo stick 3 times, causing him to fall from the steel structure onto the arena concrete floor. After the fall, Blackman performed an elbow drop and got a pinfall to win the match in the Hardcore Championship. The next match was a 2 out of 3 falls match between Chris Benoit and Chris Jericho. In the midst of the action, Jericho attempted a lionsault, which Benoit countered into a crippler crossface, forcing Jericho to submit and winning the first fall. After the first fall, Benoit retained the advantage, but after he delivered 2 belly-to-belly suplexes, Jericho countered a third one into the walls of Jericho, forcing Benoit to submit and allowing Jericho to win his first fall. As Benoit and Jericho fought back and forth, Benoit countered a cradle by Jericho into one of his own, and he pinned Jericho by holding onto the ring ropes for leverage to win his second fall and the match. The 7th match was the first triple threat tag team tables, ladders, and chairs match for the tag team championship between the team of the Hardy Boyz, Edge and Christian, and the Dudley Boyz. The Dudley Boyz gained an advantage in the match when they delivered a 3D on Christian through a table. Jeff Hardy then attempted a swanton bomb on Bubba through a table, but it backfired when Bubba moved and Jeff went through the table. Subsequently, Edge and Christian knocked Bubba off of a ladder outside of the ring, through 4 double-stacked tables. Lita, the associate of the Hardy Boyz, then came down to the ring, pushing Edge and Christian off a ladder. This allowed Matt to climb a ladder to retrieve the championship belts, but Devon pushed the ladder, resulting in Matt falling at ringside through 2 double-stacked tables. Devon then climbed another ladder, along with Jeff, but Edge and Christian knocked the ladder over, leaving Jeff hanging on the belt, but eventually hit with a ladder by Christian, allowing Edge and Christian to climb another ladder and retrieve the championship belts to retain the tag team championship. The next match was a stinkface match between the Cat and Terry. After back-and-forth action between the two women, the Cat gained the advantage after she performed a power slam on Terry and then threw Terry into the turnbuckle and delivered a stinkface on her for the win. The final match on the undercard was the encounter of Kane and The Undertaker. Before the match began, Kane attacked The Undertaker on the ring aisle. Kane then attempted to attack The Undertaker with the steel ring steps, but The Undertaker retaliated by avoiding the attack. Kane then performed a low blow on The Undertaker, who retaliated by delivering a spear and ripping Kane's mask off, which resulted in Kane exiting the ring to the backstage area, ending the match with no winner. The main event was a WWF Championship triple threat match between Triple H, Kurt Angle, and the defending champion, The Rock. Before The Rock made his entrance, Angle and Triple H fought at ringside, with Triple H delivering a pedigree on Angle on the commentator's announce table, which broke prematurely, resulting in Angle being injured. After the incident, The Rock made his entrance down to the ring. He wrestled Triple H as Angle was attended by EMTs, who transported Angle backstage. Stephanie McMahon then came down to the ring and attempted to interfere by hitting The Rock with the WWF Championship belt. She accidentally hit Triple H, however, which resulted in Triple H ordering McMahon to the backstage area. Angle returned to the ring midway through the match, alongside McMahon, and attacked Triple H. As Triple H recuperated, Angle called McMahon to give him a sledgehammer, but Angle and Triple H brawled over the sledgehammer, resulting in Triple H accidentally hitting McMahon. This situation allowed The Rock to throw Angle over the top rope onto ringside and deliver a people's elbow on Triple H into a pinfall to win the match and retain the WWF Championship. Aftermath: the Kurt Angle Triple H feud continued after SummerSlam. On the first episode of Raw is War after SummerSlam, Angle interfered in a match between Triple H and Eddie Guerrero by attacking both men with a steel chair. The feud intensified once more, as Triple H and Angle brawled on the September 11th episode of Raw is War after a match between Triple H and Chris Jericho. Later that night, Commissioner Mick Foley booked a match between Angle and Triple H at Unforgiven. The following week on Raw is War, Foley announced that he would be the special guest referee for the match between Triple H and Angle. On the final episode of SmackDown. Before Unforgiven, the feud escalated when Angle attacked Triple H with a sledgehammer, resulting in Triple H becoming unconscious and allowing Angle to kiss Triple H's wife, Stephanie McMahon, who was at ringside. At Unforgiven, Triple H pinned Angle after a pedigree. After SummerSlam, a feud began between Kane, The Undertaker, The Rock, and Chris Benoit over the WWF Championship. Kane and The Undertaker continued the feud on the August 28th episode of Raw is War, where The Undertaker interfered in a WWF Championship match between Kane and The Rock. The feud between Kane and Benoit began on the September 4th episode of Raw is War during a WWF Championship No. 1 Contenders match, as Benoit attacked Kane with a steel chair. The feud between Kane and The Rock began later that week on SmackDown, when Kane chokeslammed The Rock through the commentator's announce table. The following week on Raw is War, the feud between Kane, Benoit, The Undertaker, and The Rock officially began, as Kane, Benoit, and The Undertaker cut promos about how they deserved to face The Rock at Unforgiven for the WWF Championship. The situation resulted in a brawl between all four wrestlers. Later that night, Commissioner Foley announced that a fatal four-way match would take place at Unforgiven for the WWF Championship. At Unforgiven, The Rock retained the WWF Championship after he performed a rock bottom on Benoit into a pinfall. The feud between the Hardy Boyz and Edge and Christian over the WWF Tag Team Championship continued after SummerSlam. On the Raw is War edition after SummerSlam, the Hardy Boyz and Edge and Christian brawled throughout the night on different occasions. On the September 11th edition of Raw is War, the Hardy Boyz defeated the Dudley Boyz in a tag team match to become the #1 contenders for the WWF Tag Team Championship. The following week on SmackDown, Commissioner Foley announced a steel cage match for the WWF Tag Team Championship at Unforgiven, between the teams of Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boyz. At Unforgiven, the Hardy Boyz escaped the steel cage to win the match in the WWF Tag Team Championship. After the Dudley Boyz were unable to win the #1 contenders match, they were involved in a short-lived feud with the APA, as the Dudley Boyz defeated the APA on the September 4 edition of Raw is War. The defeat led to the APA challenging the Dudley Boyz into a barroom brawl, which ended in a no contest. After the match, the Dudley Boyz and the APA united as they drank beer and attacked Kaientai. The Dudley Boyz then began a feud with the Right to Censor on the September 18 edition of Raw is War, where after losing a match to the Dudley Boyz, all 4 members of Right to Censor attacked them. The attack led to the APA coming down to the ring to help the Dudley Boyz. On the September 21 edition of SmackDown, Commissioner Foley announced an 8-man tag team match between the team of Right to Censor against the team of the Dudley Boyz and the APA at Unforgiven. At Unforgiven, Right to Censor defeated the Dudley Boyz and the APA. Results. Footnotes. References: 2007 Pro Wrestling Illustrated Almanac and Book of Facts. Wrestling Euro Unregistered Trademark S Historical Cards. 2007. Pages 106. External links. Official 2000 SummerSlam site.